So thanks for joining and listening into our second episode. We're trying to get it a little more formatted for you guys today so it's not all over the place. So let us know, if you prefer a more random format of topics or a little more structured like today's.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a weird time for us to shoot this as well because we just got back from a trip from San Diego that we typically do annually to get away from the Arizona heat. We will go out for about a week around 4th of July, hang out with my sister and my brother-in-law in Del Mar. So this year we decided to go over to Ocean Beach, and while describing our accommodations to my brother-in-law and telling him that we were going to stay at Ocean Beach, he decides to tell me that Ocean Beach is like it makes Mission Beach look like Del Mar. And based on that, explanation, I thought, okay, I think we're gonna be just fine. But I laughed about his I laughed at his description of that because that just sounded such a silly way to position an opinion on a location. But
for sure.
At the same time, I wasn't surprised. But
what does
we
he
took
know?
it.
He's a damn zony as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm pretty confident that you and I can frame our own opinions on those types of things. So whenever he told me all that bad stuff, I asked like a few other people who are from that area, and they told me it was just fine. So I was fully confident that we would enjoy ourselves there, and not only that, but that I had already found a few vegan vegetarian places that we already wanted to try. So we went out there. The accommodations were fine, typical, small, little noisy, but there were comments on the Airbnb already telling us basically that it was on the prime corner.
Oh,
just
but
the comments.
But comments can be done by Karens. And Karens complain about everything. There were a handful, just a couple of comments out of, I don't know, like 100 good comments that said, this place is amazing. It's a little noisy, and, motorcycles roaring and ripping ass past the window at 4 a.m. I know you hate that. Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, that's noisy, okay? Like, planes overhead, motorcyclists screaming across the street at 3 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had one night where I woke up in the middle of the night and just couldn't go back to sleep. So that sucked. But aside from that, food around there was awesome. Couldn't say anything bad about the food there.
Because of the vegan places.
Right.
They were great.
Yeah. But
I mean, Plant Power Fast Food was across the street. Yeah. There was a kombucha bar. It was awesome. A cute little, coffee trailer in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah. No, it was good. I liked the small bar we went to sit down and watch a UFC fight. There was a UFC fight on. We watched it in a small bar, ordered a couple drinks. It was cool. They had plenty of space. They had plenty of space between us and the other people. This was our first time to actually sit down and order something.
The only time we've gone to anything with alcoholic drinks only.
Right. So it was great to be able to do that, experience that, and then feel comfortable again because I felt comfortable. I didn't. Yeah. So I mean that's the thing, and also we've been, just to kind of give a little bit more narrative on this, we've been super strict about this, and some would say, overly strict compared to other people. Most people by this point in the pandemic have already gone out to several places, have, gone ahead with their regular scheduled, going to the coffee shops or going to grocery stores or doing things like that and keeping maybe some social distance, but then wearing the masks and all that. I think most people have done that. Well, you and I decided that we were going to be super strict with each other on this thing, and we have been, and we did. And then we decided that we were going to actually, take a little bit more of the risks or whatever in our point of view whenever we went out to San Diego, and we did that, and I think it was fine. So
yeah, for me, but this was our first time going out at all. Let me clarify. Like, we hadn't even gone out to dinner. Okay, we've picked up all of our food to go, and we honestly haven't picked up much food to go. A handful of times at that over the past 3.5 months. So this was our first time being out at any sort of restaurant or bar and actually going in and being seated. But they did a good job. It was well over 6 feet of distance. They only had probably 5 tables in the whole place. And then a couple of tables outside, really far apart. They literally closed down their parking lot to put tables outside. We were in a corner with a big fire pit, and then the table, we were very far away from everybody. So yes, I did feel comfortable. Everybody was wearing their mask. Will I feel comfortable to do that in Arizona? No.
Yeah,
I don't want to wear my mask around these goddamn zonies. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about respecting others and wearing their mask. So San Diego, yes, I felt comfortable. Sure, we went out to dinner with friends. Or dinner and a lunch and a brunch with friends. And again, even though when we went out, one of the third day, I think, with friends, we went out in La Mesa. So not real San Diego, La Mesa, a suburb. And even then, all of the smaller places were pretty respectful, had the screens up in between the tables, and, it was impressive. I think they did a better job than Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it sucks. We're in Scottsdale, smack dab in the center of it, and we've been so shitty about this whole thing. There's been anti-mask protests. There's been a council member who literally got up on a podium and acted like he was suffocating from his mask, and literally saying, "I can't breathe," before the audience, and then jokingly took off his mask and then started laughing about that.
Disgusting.
Asshole.
Totally disgusting.
Like
these assholes even gave a shit, first of all, about that movement. They're the ones that were complaining about people protesting, you're spreading coronavirus, meh. And then what do these assholes do?
Right.
They go and protest in mass droves, and they don't wear a mask. At least the BLM folks wore masks. These people wore no mask and were shoved up against each other.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that kind of comes to something that I was thinking about, and that a lot of people have kind of brought up to me, like at work and things like that, is, when did the severe spikes really... Okay, what is the result of the severe spikes? Is it due to reopening sooner, or is it due to all the protests going on and people gathering?
I can tell you, as somebody who has screenshotted, the past 50 days of coronavirus statistics for Arizona, the first big spike we saw was right after Memorial Day weekend, when all of the bars and the clubs were open here. There's literally TMZ video of, what is that boxer's name? Mayweather, thank you. At the club down the street from our house, popping bottles, nobody wearing masks, spraying bottles, like body to body, like life was back to normal pre-COVID. I saw so many of those photos, so did you.
Yeah.
And then the spike sure did align with everybody just kicking it and having a great time over Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people blame the protest for it. I don't really care if that's part of the reason for a spike in cases. I would never, ever... I know that's not to blame for all of it. I think people got very comfortable when things reopened. Like I just said about Scottsdale, people going out to clubs. Literally, there's a day club here with a pool. Pictures, videos on Insta, body to body, crammed in pools. Doing the whole, like, girls on shoulders, bottle sparkler shit. Just like the club. Right. So you can't tell me that didn't have a huge impact. Like, we've seen bars around here being closed because of different people acting that way. Sure, I'm sure the protest also added a bit. There's a lot of people in close contacts. I will give them props, though. Everybody I saw was wearing masks.
Yeah, and I mean, the last thing I'll talk about on this topic is LA Times did an entire article on people leaving Los Angeles to head to Scottsdale to party. And we saw so many California license plates in the last couple of weeks. Many. And they covered it, and they showed not just the inside, but the outside was packed just to get into the place.
Yeah.
Fucking Scottsdale.
It's horrible. It's the worst. So you don't think that this is... We saw this in Arkansas. We saw this in Florida. People going out to bars. Again, cram together. No mask. No social distancing. So do I think it's the protest that caused a reason and for the COVID cases to spike? No, I don't. I think people have gotten way too comfortable. And there's also a mixture of people who just don't give a shit about other people's health or their lives, quite frankly. Just put on the mask. It's not that hard.
So, huge thing that I think we've been all waiting for is Ghislaine Maxwell getting caught. You know, ever since the list of all of the top politicians, Prince Andrew, big celebrities, things
top
like that
perverts.
came out. Top perverts came out whenever they had Jeffrey Epstein. That night, I remember telling you, babe, there's no fucking way that this thing goes forward any more than it has already. This is crazy. It was like the governor of New Mexico, like the former governor, not the current, the former governor of New Mexico, Prince Andrew,
right.
Dershowitz, who represented
Clinton.
I don't think he represented Clinton. I think he actually went against Clinton. So he was against
Clinton.
Right. He was a part of the Clinton impeachment stuff against him, and then he defended Trump on the impeachment. So
right, I'm saying Clinton was a part of all.
Oh
of
yeah,
these
Clinton
people.
was.
That's
Yeah. Clinton had like 26 flights.
Yeah.
But so did Bill Gates.
I know. Well,
And
I mean, come on.
And here's what I just found out.
Oprah?
So did Ellen.
Oprah?
Ellen apparently has several flights.
Yeah, well, she could be disgusting too. Does anything surprise you?
Right. I mean, no. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into the Ellen thing. That was pretty fucking weird. And that was like one of those things that like on Twitter was a trending topic. I didn't look into it any further than people were saying, yeah, I'll take a look. I'll take a look in a moment. But so they captured Ghislaine Maxwell. She's caught in this I think it was around like 20 something acre property in New Hampshire. So it was all wooded forest all around her, front gate with a huge padlock on it. The home was large and had like several different buildings on the property. She wasn't even seen by any of the people in the town. Everybody in the town had pretty much at that point, thought that it was a huge surprise whenever she got captured there. So she gets captured. They come out and they do the same type of like FBI press conference type deal that they did with Epstein about a year ago, saying, we've been chasing after this guy for a long time, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of, it feels like bullshit. So anytime I hear these press conferences, it feels like it's just kind of showboating. Even the top FBI official that was at the press conference, she's talking on her podium. She gets down from her podium and there's a picture of Ghislaine Maxwell. She's sitting there pointing at it, standing there, and just photo shoot, just sitting there, just standing, posing. And it's over and over and over posing in the middle of her talking. Super fucking weird. So she gets done doing that, goes back on the podium, continues talking, basically says that, they're gonna push harder than they did with Jeffrey Epstein and all this stuff. And it's funny, a lot of the news anchors and pundits are essentially saying that that Ghislaine Maxwell, there's leaks of her telling the FBI that she's going to work with them and cooperate fully, and other people are saying, that means she's going to release even more names. So it's going to be even more people, which is not surprising.
The Clintons don't kill her.
Right. She could be suicided. She could be suicided the next week. If
anybody believes that man committed suicide, he was probably getting it, where? In jail. So I'd probably want to kill myself too. But people in jail don't think kindly of child molesters, which is what basically he was, right? I mean, these girls were underage.
Yeah.
Men in jail do not take kindly to that. So if he would have been released to Gen Pop, which eventually I'm sure he would have, it would not have been good.
Yeah.
Which, fine.
I don't know.
Forcibly rape him, fine. I mean, that's what he did to all these poor girls. I'm sorry. It's true. But yeah, I don't know. They better handle that a little bit better with her. Who knows? Let's see if she actually speaks up.
Yeah, I think it's funny that all the news pundits now, like, what's the Nancy Drew? I didn't even know she was on TV anymore.
What? Yeah.
So I see a clip of her yelling at the camera, "Keep her alive. Keep her alive. We've got to keep her alive."
She speaks the truth.
And I'm just sitting there like, she keeps yelling it over and over. And I'm sitting there thinking like, holy shit, I agree with Nancy Drew.
I mean, I definitely didn't agree with her when she went at 2 Chainz on his opinions, but I can believe Nancy Drew and be aligned with her on this one.
Yeah, and I definitely didn't
That's
align.
not her name. Nancy Drew is a child's book.
I fucking can't remember.
That's not her name.
That's not her name?
No, that's like literally like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. It's not that. It's shit. Yeah, that's not it.
Oh shit, you're right. It's Nancy Drew's the book. I knew
that
duh. Something was wrong.
God, what is that? She's blonde hair lady.
What is it then? Nancy something, right?
I don't even think Nancy is her name.
Drew. Maybe Drew is her last name.
No, I don't think you have that.
This is hilarious.
Blonde lady.
So she was on, what was she on before? She was on,
I don't know.
I think, what was that channel? It was like Headline News or something like that was the channel. And then she was big during the Casey Anthony stuff because she was already saying, you know, Casey Anthony is totally guilty. There's no way.
Nancy Grace.
Okay,
Grace. I'm sorry. You were right with the Nancy.
Nancy Grace. Yeah. So anyway, Nancy Grace was going fucking crazy.
Which, honestly, I agreed with her on the Casey Anthony thing. But let's not digress. So this lady, hopefully she stays alive. Hopefully she can spill the beans on more people who've flown and gone to his island. They dubbed it the Lolita Express. That's what all these news articles. But was that its actual name, or is that just what they're calling it? Because I hope to God that wasn't the actual name, because we all know what Lolita is, right?
No, I think you know who I think actually gave this his name? I think it was actually Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity was covering this years ago and saying Bill Clinton is a pervert and that Bill Clinton should be, you know,
he's literally like
get caught up
number one pervert.
Right, and that's what he was saying. But everybody else was saying, no, Trump is. And so he was trying to basically cast light that you know, the Clintons are really, really bad people and that Bill Clinton should be cast as a pervert because he's gone on to the Lolita Express, which I believe was coined by Sean Hannity.
Did you know that Kevin Spacey was also on this?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, Kevin Spacey. Yeah, like you said earlier, Bill Gates. I think Ellen. Hopefully, I'm not fucking spreading
that's not
something.
Popping up.
You know what?
Like I asked
you know what?
you,
Shame
you
on me.
It.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
If that's not right, and that's just some weird shit that was trending on Twitter. Yeah. So you know what? Honestly, it's just fucking weird that it was trending on Twitter. How about that? That's just a fucking weird thing. You know. So then there could be no.
I mean, I don't see Ellen.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know what? How about this? Wouldn't that be fucking weird if Ellen was on that flight?
Yeah, man, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be fucking weird if Ellen was?
Recent posts allege that celebrities and VIPs such as Ellen DeGeneres, Oprah Winfrey, the Gateses, and the Clintons, among others, are under house arrest for child sex trafficking. Blah, blah, blah. Other one. God, people, like...
What is the name of the article you're reading?
It's on USA Today. Hold on. They're demything it? Or debunking it. Sorry.
Debunking it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised. I should have Snopes this. That's what I should have done.
I know. Like I said, Google it.
Yeah, I'll Snopes it and see.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm not seeing, like, valid stuff on this. I'm pretty sure it would be, like, top of the news game.
You'd think so, but I thought all this other shit was going to be top of the news game, too. And you know what? It really wasn't. I remember like what I told you whenever I brought up the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, and I pulled up that article. It was like a 2-day old article, and nobody had talked about it at that point. And then the next morning,
I mean, there's a lot going on though.
Right, but a case like that, it's a big deal, and everybody was talking about it too. So anyway, hopefully Ghislaine Maxwell will get hers at the same time. I hope that she releases a shitload more names, because I think that's fucking crazy.
She should do this. People need to be held responsible for this disgusting stuff. I mean, this is some Illuminati type stuff.
That's for fucking sure.
It is, for real. Like, who knows? They could be drinking children's blood for all I know. I don't know. I don't know what rich, famous people do.
You've gone full InfoWars and Alex Jones.
Shit. So I did want to talk about some more relevant, hard-hitting news, I think. But before we do that, perhaps a shot and... well, it's not a light topic, but not as gruesome of a topic. So let's do a shot.
Yeah, fuck. Shot. Yeah.
Cheers.
So
Thank you
this?
for
This is...
a little 1942, baby. Oh, yums.
Very
Cheers.
fucking smooth.
Love you.
Very fucking smooth.
Are you going to do the whole thing?
I'm going to do the whole thing. That's what a shot is.
Delicious. That'll grow some hair on your chest.
Actually, that was super smooth.
I know.
We're a couple of pussies and we're old, apparently, because we just
delicious.
acted like that was a hard deal.
That was yums.
We're from Oklahoma. We used to take shots of Everclear.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be...
Yeah, we were disgusting people.
I'm actually a garbage person. I don't know where to say. Oh, I just want to give my husband props. He spent a lot of time setting everything up today. We did drive back from San Diego yesterday, and we had a little tiff in the car. Honestly, I don't even remember what we were arguing about. But also today, also had a little tiff. And I very much appreciate all of the work that you put in to setting everything up and still keeping us on track and keeping us on schedule to record a podcast, since I was lazy and wasn't feeling it last weekend.
I appreciate that. Hopefully this isn't backhanded, but I await your your continued
Why
feedback.
Do you always think I'm like there's some little demon hiding around the corner to give you a compliment and then slap the shit out of you with something that just knocks you 10 pegs down? No, I was honestly just trying to be...
I'm joking, but you're a very analytical person.
Sure, whatever.
So sometimes whenever you give super positive feedback, just back to back like you just did,
damn.
I can only
That's the last time.
I just sit into anticipation.
Great. You know, every time you say this, I feel like every time I try to give you a goddamn compliment, you always think I'm like being manipulative, and it's a little telling, Jean.
I definitely don't. I joke.
Okay. That's the last time I give you a goddamn compliment.
Good.
Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not shitting you. I will not give you another one again.
It puts me on my toes.
Wow.
So I like sit here. I'm like, that sounds nice, but what's up? I'm joking. I love you. I'm joking.
Anyway, you're welcome. Jesus Christ. God damn, man. You just... Ugh. Anyway, okay, well, next topic. So, speaking of irritating people, let's talk about Chris D'Elia. Is that how you say his name? I've never really learned it, because honestly, I don't think he's that funny of a comic.
So this isn't that relevant anymore, but it's the Chris D'Elia stuff that happened with his, him getting called out with screenshots. I think they were DMs, or I think they were like Twitter messages or DMs.
I told you before that it even blew up, that profile I follow on Instagram was getting direct messages and examples of Twitter messages from him.
I vaguely remember what you're talking about, this profile. Yeah. So just get into this profile a little bit more.
Yeah, it's called, I think, Demois. And they do a lot of like blind celebrity posts. There's some websites online that talk about, anonymous type of experiences with celebrities. And so she started this. I'm assuming she's a she. Actually, I shouldn't assume anything. This person started this by posting those types of things. And then now it's gotten so big, people DM her directly or submit it on this person's website. So the Chris D'Elia thing started to blow up like, I don't know, a couple of days before I started hearing it on, or maybe even a week before I heard it on your podcast. But basically, he's been caught being a pervert. There are direct messages between him and young girls where he's clearly being flirted.
How old are these girls?
In their teens. Some of them admit they were like 15, 16. Okay. Some of them admit, oh no, I was 18 or 19. Like it's not like all people are saying it's all young girl, like underage girls. Some say, no, I was of age. It was just he was very persistent and obsessive. Yeah. He would get their email and email them directly to come hang out. He would get their messages on Twitter, like DMs, all of that. But basically it happened with multiple underage girls. So I would assume post Me Too, that guy's career's done.
Yeah. I mean, the other weird thing about it is that I'm a big fan of Workaholics. You are too. And he played a child molester on Workaholics.
And in the
I didn't watch it. So I take your word. Yeah, I believe that's right, on Netflix.
Like Watching You? I think it was called You.
No, I think it's just You.
I think it was You. I know. I'm trying to remember why they called it that.
So anyway, the fact that he played back-to-back roles as a pedophile or child molester or whatever.
Weird.
Fucking weird, right? And so I listen to a ton of the podcasts that are out, like Fighter and the Kid, and even on Joe Rogan and things like that. And I remember a few different times where they joked about him having a groupie of very young girls, and that's kind of a thing that that his age demographic is younger than a lot of the other comics, and I think he's like 40. Late 30s, early 40s. I believe he's 40.
Too old to be dealing with that.
Right. And they would joke about that. There's even one clip, and I actually remember listening to this. They were talking about the ability to capture snapshots of DMs in Snapchat. And he said, they were talking about some other random topic, and they said, you know what, I bet that person got that snapshot of their DM on Snapchat. And he goes, yeah, but that's not possible. And they go, no, you can do that, and that's very possible. And he goes, so you're telling me that they can snapshot DMs in Snapchat?
Yeah, dumbass.
And he goes, and they were like, yeah. And you just see him just buckle into himself.
Yeah, well,
and he just like looks down, and he's like,
does he not know how technology works? Jesus. You're not that old.
I think he was under the impression that the entire Snapchat app was capturing whenever individuals take screenshots and then report it back. That's what he was thinking.
But you actually, you can do it. It'll say like if you saved the message, but you can basically do like a swipe up kind of thing to where you have your multiple apps. You could screenshot it there. There's different tricks like that to where you're not in the app anymore, but you can screenshot it without being notified that somebody screenshotted it. I don't mess with, nobody does Snapchat anymore, do they? Like, it's all about Instagram. Now that Insta Stories copied that. But anyway, I actually have a question on this, because obviously he was not the only man in the world who has a thing for young women, whether they're 18 or 16. I think that's such an oddity to me with men. They're like obsession of young girls, or the appearance of that they are young underage girls. It's very strange to me. Like, what is that?
I mean, one, it's comfortable, I'm sure, for many men to, one, be able to be the upper hand in the situation. And then two, maybe it's if they are, sorry to take it this way, but if they're really shitty at sex, or they're just not necessarily confident in sex, maybe it's a lot easier to be able to have sex with women who don't have a lot of sexual experience. That way it's less judgmental. You know, I got to tell you, as a guy, whenever I was in my late teens and early college years, I fucking hated having sex with girls that were in their late teens, around my same age. I hated that because they didn't know what the fuck to do. And although it's not like I fucking was a savant. I still felt like I fucking had,
savant.
I still felt like I fucking knew I knew what I sexually was comfortable with a lot more than most women were in my late teens. And so whenever I started having sex with women in their 20s, that was great because they were women that were far more comfortable in themselves. They, at that time, had a lot more experience and things like that. So I always kind of scratch my head about why exactly some men have that kind of thing where they latch onto younger girls or girls that, even aesthetically look younger. It's kind of weird. But you know what? At the end of the day, let's see if anything fucking happens with this.
Okay, so you were saying you think it's a sexual experience factor and that women that are younger are less experienced, so perhaps the man will seem like he's better at sex or won't be as judged. I think that's a very valid point.
That's probably one. I don't know, but right. I'm assuming.
I think after, 30 years on this earth that a lot of men have a dominance issue as well. So I think it's probably pretty easy to dominate young women and feel like the alpha in the couple, and especially in the bedroom, and can probably exert that a little easier. And have maybe even younger women work for it harder.
Yeah.
Because they want more approval.
True. Yeah, I can see that. And I think that coming from experience, I think that's probably the case. I think I know, at least I think that was my experience with girls whenever I was in my late teens. So I don't know. I think.
It's just a weird... I want everybody to know also that I started dating Jean when I was 19, so thanks for the mad props for being sexually inexperienced as a young girl in college.
And I'm only 2 years older than you. That's it. So that's not it, barely too. So it's not it's not a jab on you. It's a jab on just honestly just sexual experience. Everybody. It's a sexual experience with everybody in their late teens, early 20s. We fucking want to have sex, but we suck at it. We don't know what we like. We are figuring out those things. We're figuring out the experimental shit. Sometimes we're jumping into the experimental shit too soon, and it's like we're halfway doing it, but not really confident in doing it or know what the fuck we're doing. It's silly. It's funny in retrospect whenever I think about those things.
Oh, I bet.
But, had to figure it out somehow.
Well, again, here I am just dishing out the compliments tonight. But I personally was impressed with your sexual prowess and experience when we first started dating. So that's okay. Just don't give me any props. I'll give them all to you on this one. But yeah.
Damn, you know what? I appreciate that. I'll give it all to 1980s rock music videos that taught me, and old Playboys that probably taught me everything. So that's not a lot. So I don't know. And just like every young, healthy guy in their late teens and early 20s, probably a decent amount of pornography as education. That's probably...
I wouldn't be proudly touting that.
No, I'm just saying that's the typical education.
Yeah, but that's
of a
not
young
a good
guy.
education.
No, it's not.
Porn is not.
No, it's not. It's fucking
that's
terrible
education. That's not real life. That's
not
how real sex is. And don't get it twisted. I watch porn, but I know that's not what a real sexual experience is.
No, absolutely not. It's a fantasy, right? It's
right.
Made by guys for guys with a lot of fucking fantasy, cut into what a sexual activity, is like. So it could be at times a comedic thing to kind of see that and be able to think about like real sexual experiences and say, wow, this is such a guy fantasy that it's not even realistic. But I don't even want to get into specifics of that. I honestly, I want to leave it at that it's, guys should never use porn as a way to be able to learn anything about sex.
Right, and maybe Chris watched the wrong kind of porn, so
fuck.
Maybe this is what he's into now. I don't know.
Fuck.
I'm just saying.
That sucks.
Not trying to come full circle, but I just came full circle. So hopefully that's not what he's into. I don't know. I think the evidence seems pretty legit against him. So yeah, Louis C.K.'s career was ruined for jerking it in front of women. So
hey, he asked permission. Apparently,
well,
he asked permission, and a lot of them apparently said that it was hilarious. So I mean,
yeah, if Louis C.K. whipped his dick out and started jerking in front of me, I'd be like, huh, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
This is real. Are you trying to make a joke right now? Is this part of your act?
Right. But on a serious note, I mean, I could see how it would be a lot of pressure to be able to have somebody that was up there in the tiers of comedy, and then they ask you something like that. I'm sure there was plenty of girls that I think even expressed themselves later on saying that pressure was on, and this is an individual that was seen as a superior.
Of course.
And so because of that, you know, they felt like they were intimidated into doing something that they didn't necessarily want to. And he was apologetic about it. I'm not going to fucking defend the guy.
No.
Fuck him for thinking that that's normal.
Using
that's not
his
fucking normal.
Celebrity power to force women to be subjected to that. Yeah. And you're not, I'm sure you as a man haven't been subjected to this often, but I can tell you as a female, and a female that is in a corporate working environment, there have been many a times, truly, that men have tried to exhibit their position in the company and use that type of power in their mind. They think they have some sort of power or leg up over me to try to make me feel uncomfortable and do things that maybe I don't want to do, or just basically make me feel uncomfortable in a situation that I don't speak out at. I just go with it because I'm in the lower position. Truly. So you're totally right. All jokes aside, those women were subjected to something that they probably felt very uncomfortable with and didn't want to see, but because of his fame, they went with it in the moment, and then after had a lifetime of regret.
Yeah, I mean, there's some correlation with the Louis C.K. thing and the Chris D'Elia thing, in that Louis C.K. joked about and even portrayed being a pervert that masturbates in front of people on his show Louis. There was an episode where he was the episode was revolving around him being in a public argument with a very conservative woman, and then he became obsessive about the idea of masturbating in front of her. And he was saying that he wished he could just jizz as a superpower. And then he even put that into one of his latest stand-ups. You know, one of his latest what is it? I think it was actually labeled like 2019 was the name of the special.
Yeah,
well, so he had a special called 2019, I think, and then in that, I think he actually said that he wanted a superpower that dealt with jizzing.
Well, that would have been after he was accused.
No, it was right before.
Baby, I think Louis C.K. was accused way before 20.
Oh, you know what?
Before 2019.
Fuck. I think it was called 2018. Yeah, my bad. It was called 2018, and he was accused of it. And yeah, so yeah, that's my correlation with that is that Louis C.K. joked about jizzing in front of girls and making girls feel uncomfortable. Chris D'Elia joked about being a pedophile and even portrayed it as well. So it's like,
yeah, except here's the difference.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. was hilarious. Chris D'Elia, not funny.
God,
not funny. I don't get it. That's no loss on me. I feel sorry for any of the young women, any women or men. Who knows what he's capable of? Anybody involved in that, I feel that's unacceptable. It's disgusting. Not a big loss on his talent. He's never been funny. Sorry. Maybe I did laugh when he was the pervert on Workaholics. It.
That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's it.
I was so sad when they said they were going to pull that episode.
Oh, I know.
I was like, fuck, I just thought the other day about actually watching that episode.
But I get it. I understand why. But like,
oh, for sure.
He's not funny, so don't give a shit. Don't do comedy again. Louis C.K. was hilarious. It's unfortunate, but you know what? You get what you get on that kind of shit. Don't be a fucking pervert and don't lord over women and put them in uncomfortable positions because you can. So even though Louis C.K. was funny, sorry. No love loss, I guess, because you were a pervert and an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to say that, we never really appreciated Chris D'Elia's comedy because we're big fans of comedy. You and I enjoy watching specials all the time.
Does it suck that we didn't appreciate it?
No. I mean, we gave him so many chances.
Yeah, God.
And it just wasn't funny. I didn't think he was funny at all. I was like,
boring.
Holy shit, people think he's funny?
I don't understand it.
And you know what's funny?
I would rather watch Dane Cook.
No. Dan Cook's fucking hilarious.
I know, but I'm talking about his more recent stuff that wasn't there.
Yeah, it was still hilarious. Yeah, but you know what? Maybe the only person that I think launched his career was, I think Justin Bieber had sent out a tweet saying he's great. So you know what? I stick to not taking comedic advice.
Bieber.
I won't stick to taking comedic advice from Justin Bieber.
Don't take any advice from Justin Bieber. So hopefully people couldn't hear the fireworks in the background from earlier. It is the 4th of July. Like we said, we drove back from San Diego yesterday, so we haven't really done much here. I mean, one, I don't want to be around people, COVID. And two, we just, we're feeling a little tired today. And I kind of expressed earlier to Jean that it's just kind of a weird 4th of July for me. I'm very, very thankful that I live in the USA. When we travel, there's always, I think, pros and cons to all of the countries in the world, but I always realize there's a lot of luxuries I think, middle class, lower class people have here that other countries don't have. And so I'm always very, very thankful to be from the US and to be an American. Very thankful for the privilege that it has afforded me in many ways, but I have to say, with everything that's been going on the past of the couple of months, and when I say everything that's been going on, I mean just breaking down the systemic racism and a lot of the social injustices that have been finally really getting attention by a larger amount of people. I think it's just been a little off for me today to celebrate. I don't know. I feel really weird about some of the reactions I think I've seen friends on Facebook post and different things like that. And that how I think lately the U.S. has just been polarized on some topics that I think really shouldn't be a political thing, that it should just be a human thing. So. Yeah,
I mean, happy 4th to you as well.
Sorry.
Jesus
I don't know,
Christ.
man.
Sorry.
This has been a weird day.
I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Don't know what to tell you.
I hear what you're saying. I believe my point of view on this, and that I was not born here. I was born in Lima, Peru. I was, as soon I even went back for like a semester of school when I was younger. When I was 18, I was like, Mom and Dad, I'm heading to fucking Italy with very little plan. And I headed more money, yeah. And headed out, stayed in Italy for a significant amount of time, and then went over to Switzerland for another 6 months or so. And then, I got to travel around, got to know some more cultures, got to know the way that some of the governments acted. And it's just kind of like the public perception of government with media and criticism and how that stuff worked. And with Italy, during that time, this was the Berlusconi times. Berlusconi was this guy who had ownership of all 3 of the major television stations, plus actual print articles. So that would be the equivalent of like Trump owning ABC, NBC, and CBS, the big national stations, and then basically those stations catering to him and basically shutting people out if they had criticism of him. So seeing that shit like that, it made me fucking realize that like Italy was rough on that stuff. There was very little criticism. It was jokey criticism about Berlusconi, but it was also like kind of a pat on the back kind of jokey criticism. They would have a more attractive actor guy playing Berlusconi on TV as like the extremist thing. And the extremist thing was that he was a big fan of Italy. That was the extremist thing. It was fucking weird. And I sat there and watched that and was like, this is Europe, a more, liberal place. And it's a place of supposedly free thinking. And, it made me realize just how good we've got it. I mean, we can fucking put Alec Baldwin to put hideous makeup on, do a really comedic but pretty fucking dead on impression of Trump, and essentially it's just a thing that people joke about and love, and yet the president, he fucking hates it, and it continues to air, and it's a regular thing. That's pretty fucking great. And the fact that there's entire news stations that literally will go fucking after him, and it can be really fucking funny, right? The way they spin shit to go after Trump, but at the same time, there's stations that will spin shit away from Trump.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of material to work with.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's fucking. We're not perfect. We have continuously bettered ourselves on certain topics. There's some shit that we kind of have plateaued on, and that's not good. And we need to fucking be better. But I don't know. Being in my early 30s, seeing different countries, seeing different cultures, I think I've come to realize that the U.S. at least gets better after time. We've improved ourselves. And I've actually become a bit of an ageist. I hate to say it, but my views are leaning toward that I kind of have more hope for people that are younger than me, like Gen Z people. I kind of view them now as people that are looking at it like us, and they're like, you fucking idiots, you fucking millennials, you couldn't handle your social media? You guys abuse social media? You guys abuse the 24-hour news cycle? You guys don't know how to handle yourselves on those things? You guys are kind of crybabies on a lot of PC stuff and a bit over the edge on that? I hope they come in and say that shit.
Have you read Gen Z's post on Instagram?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you read anybody that's actual Gen Z and the type of things that they post?
Honestly, I'm talking about my fucking one person that is Gen Z, one or two people. One, I've got a guy who's pretty much a Gen Z guy. He's like the year that's the boundary of it that I work with, who's kind of my associate. I work with him and I pull a lot of his information from him, like of his opinion on things. I also have a graphic designer that I hired who is a Gen Z guy.
Sure.
And I pull a lot of his thoughts on these types of things. And they pretty much are dead onto the thoughts that I have on this. But at the same time, I think it's a lot of fucking hopes. I think from my side, it's a lot of hope that I hope that people that are younger are more intelligent about this shit, that technology is more natural, so therefore they handle it better. Yeah, I don't think we handle it.
We're not talking about technology. Like, no, you're digressing. So what we were talking about...
Not really.
You are. So what we were talking about was... You said that, hey, the U.S. has gotten better over the years and, sure, we have some improvements to make. No, I mean, we have drastic things that we need to change.
For sure.
As it's related to racism.
Yeah.
I would think as an immigrant to this country, you're not naturally born American, and that's okay. That's great. That's what makes this country great. Yeah. You can come here. You can become an American. That's excellent. I would think that you, not being a naturally born citizen of this country, you would understand that we definitely have racism that still exists.
For sure. Yeah.
I know I've talked with you about many instances of your life as a young child where grown-ass adults have mistreated you because you're Hispanic.
Yeah, I also grew up in Oklahoma, though.
Okay, Sean, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just Oklahoma.
I do know what you're talking about.
This is widespread. However, I mean, I hear you. I think that shit is definitely very prevalent there.
If I was in South Florida, I think it would have been a different
Yeah, but
game.
South Florida's different. You hear Spanish everywhere there.
For sure.
You do.
Yeah.
So that's a more comfortable, I think, level. But regardless, I think you understand that racism still exists here. So, are we just supposed to say, hey, you know what, man? People marched, how many years has it been? Almost 60 years ago for civil rights? Not even. Less than then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So people marched in the 60s for civil rights. Let's talk about some of the issues that have changed since then. Because I still see that black people have less opportunity than me. We've talked about redlining. We know all of that type of stuff. Financial institutions being racist in who they give money to and who they decide to loan. I'm not even going to get into that. It's very clear that there is systemic racism still occurring. So I hear you in saying, like, countries, you know, everybody has their shit kind of thing, and U.S. is getting better with each generation, but we've got to do massively better.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's time to make a big change.
I completely agree with you. I'm not saying that we don't have those types of problems. I'm hopeful that people do. And I think my whole thing of connecting the technologies thing and all that stuff is I think that I think social media and information has kind of like fucking jarred us in a way that we can't seem to fucking even agree on facts. And that kind of shit doesn't make us ready to approach big changes and things. That's my only big fear, is that for the first time in history, we have such a wide range in the older demographic that's still alive, because baby boomers are essentially beating estimates for their lifespan. And then we have younger demographic who actually has more access to information and they can express their opinions on it. And so we have these two wide spectrums, and they're able to express their opinions, and they're on the same playing field. It's tough. So it seems like it's a little bit more difficult than it probably was in the 60s and 70s when a lot of the civil rights movements were happening. And it's also not great that we can't agree on the same fucking facts. But at the same time, I can only hope that we're going to move more toward a comfort in, I think we're all, not all of us, but I think a greater majority has now become more comfortable with the LGBTQ community. I think that we are becoming more comfortable in, I mean, we're obviously fully comfortable, I believe, in interracial relationships. And then at the same time, then on hiring for minorities, I think we still have a lot to work with on certain industries. Like, I'm in the real estate industry, and I have to tell you, I go to a big convention once a year that's really big, and it holds people internationally. It holds people from all over the U.S. It's a big convention in retail real estate specifically. And I got to tell you, walking around that, it is 98%, maybe 95% white, and then maybe, 5% Jewish. And then
those people are white people.
I get what you're saying, but
and you just said 95% and then 5% Jewish. So your
Hasidic
math
Jewish
doesn't add up.
I think it's because you can like, I can clearly identify the people that are there. Okay, so
that's it. So it's 100% whites and Hasidic Jewish people.
No, it's like 95%. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I got the fucking numbers wrong. It's like 95% white people, and then a decent percentage of the remainder being Hasidic Jewish, and then the rest of it is just speckles of Hispanic and even less
disappointing
Black. And it's sad to see that. I hate when I fucking see that. I hate when there is no diversity in my industry. It makes me really sad. So I think obviously there's probably other industries outside of mine that in real estate that have that problem.
Of course. I think, but I want to go back to, I think this is where you and I differ a little bit so you're just saying that basically the information presented, as younger people, we have more access to information. The old people did not. However, I don't think that's they have plenty of access to information now. So if they wanted to educate themselves, they can. And I know older people that obviously did not have the internet growing up who have educated themselves. So I don't really think it's as much as access to information as maybe these people have just been so stuck in their ways over time and so privileged and not attuned to their privilege and not attuned to the plights of other people that aren't like themselves. I think inherently humans, very selfish, very self-absorbed, right? So I think a lot of this demographic, which is white people, probably very self-absorbed and have only thought about themselves or the people that directly is affected. And even then, they don't really want to think too hard about, those people and their situation and their plight. So I think 1, very self-absorbed. 2, I think they've probably been involved in this whole systemic racism for a long time. And I don't think that they want to believe that there's anything wrong with it because they've probably been privileged during this whole time. Well, they have been because they're white. So they, with their privilege, see nothing wrong in what's been going on for so many years because they haven't lost anything from it. They've gained from it. So you may think that they didn't have as much access to information, and that's the difference, where we're exposed to it all the time, where I think these people have been privileged for a long time, probably haven't looked into the plights. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Jesus, I definitely have not been mindful of other people's plights. We've talked about this. Black, Hispanic. I'd like to think that before this I was attuned. The past couple of years I've been pretty attuned, but before this when I was younger, of course, I didn't think about anybody but my fucking self. Very rarely. So, I think this is a mixture of people selfish and they've been gaining from their privilege and from this system that doesn't give privilege and opportunity to Black, Hispanic, etc., to anybody in a minority position. And like I said, I'm very much, I understand why right now Black Lives Matter. They've always mattered. We need to focus on that because we've done a real disservice to the Black community hundreds of years now. And it's our time to pay up and really, really use our voices to be a part of the solution and try to do what we can to make sure that this is not the future for the younger generation. But this also extends to others as well. And I think once we try to be a part of the solution for the Black community, we can try to repair what we've done to immigrants in our country and other marginalized groups of people that don't have the opportunity that I, myself, as a white woman, does.
And I agree.
That's why I think the 4th of July, it's a weird time, trying to come full circle. It's a weird time for me right now. I'm not feeling so great about, how everything's going, but I want to tack on to your idea of hope. I do feel hopeful. I think not just Gen Z, I agree. I feel much more hopeful for the younger generation. I think they're much more attuned to social issues. I've said that for a while now. But I think millennials and older, I've definitely seen people that are older who have become more self-aware and have gone, holy shit, all of these years, I didn't think about you. I didn't think about your situation. I never acknowledged that. And I see people acknowledging it now. So I have hope and faith that we are going to get better as a country and as a community overall. I'm very hopeful for the future. I want to really try to cast away all of the negativity that I see and just pure shitheads on my Facebook. Sorry. But I've had to block and remove quite a few people because I just can't believe the ignorant ass shit that they're saying. So I'm going to be positive and hopeful like you that, we're going to pave a better way for the younger generation and we're going to do right by the communities that, and I say we as I'm a white person. So, I hope that the white community is going to do right by those that they've wronged and finally wake up and fucking step into somebody else's shoes.
On that note, I agree. On that note, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up our second podcast. So appreciate you expressing yourself, babe. And to anybody that's listening, thanks for listening in. I appreciate that. We both do. And we'll keep recording this and we'll keep trying to be consistent on this. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yep. Bye, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Yep. Bye, guys.